Hey Rafa, it's your buddy Rick. I thought I would include this video along with this cheat sheet on how to do ED endings, just kind of to explain some things that you probably already heard Hadar explain, but some things I thought maybe I would just highlight a little bit more. Also, kind of to give you these words that you could practice, but of course with me doing the video, that you can hear me say the words and you can compare them with what you say. So, yeah, here's the video. I'm not going to try to be too elaborate. I'll talk as I normally would talk to you. Hopefully, I'm not talking too fast. You're pretty good at keeping up, so no worries there. All right, so you have the cheat sheet here, and there's a number of thoughts that precede what I actually want to get into regarding how to pronounce ED endings. So, the first thing I want you to realize about pronunciation in English, and especially doing these exercises with ED endings, I want you to think about things more in sounds, not so much in letters. English has 26 letters in the alphabet. Now, of course, Spanish has about the same amount of letters. Spanish is more cut and dry. That is pretty much what you see. You know the sound's going to the sound that the letter is going to generate. It's pretty simple, especially with your vowels. But the reality is, in comparison to Spanish, English may have 26 letters, but it has over 44 distinct sounds that it produces. So the reason for that is that, for one thing, while Spanish has 5 vowels positions, we have over 14. Different consonants tend to produce also kind of be a little multifaceted. It'll produce different letters. For example, the G can be pronounced as a G. Sometimes it's pronounced as a J. Certain combinations of consonants produce different sounds. And of course, we have the nightmarish silent letters. So anyway, just start thinking more in sounds in this exercise and not so much with letters, even though we focus a lot on letters. Okay. The next thing Hadar definitely explained to you is about the reality that sounds in English are either voiced or unvoiced. Once again, that means that the sound, when it's voiced, means that the vocal cords will vibrate, that you'll hear a nice strong vibration or feel a nice strong vibration in the throat. When you don't have that, then the sound is considered unvoiced. This is very important to consider when working with ED endings. Depending on the preceding sound before the ED ending, that is the sound that comes before the ED ending, if it is voiced or it is unvoiced, will determine how you pronounce the ED ending. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started simply with vowel positions. As I said before, English has over 14 vowel positions. The good thing is, regarding ED endings, since all vowel positions are voiced, that is, you feel the vibration in your vocal cords, it's only one way to pronounce the ED ending, and that is with the D sound. For example, in the words allowed, toyed, glued, cried, weighed. All those words end in vowel sounds, so therefore the ED ending, when it's added, is always going to be pronounced as a D. D. All right? Now the big thing, consonants. Of course, if the consonant is voiced, you're going to add, the ED ending is going to be pronounced as D or D. If it is unvoiced, that is, the vocal cords are not vibrating, it's going to be pronounced as a T or T. All right? So this is where I'm going to basically take it category by category. I'm going to read the consonant, and I'm going to basically list a verb with an ED ending and pronounce it. I'm going to just say it nice and slowly one time, and then I'm just going to say it as I normally would say it. And if you notice in the parentheses, I have the word written out as how you would pronounce it, basically. All right, so let's look at the first column, which is voiced. Voiced consonants are going to end with a D ending, the ED that is. All right, so let's take the first letter. B. Bobbed. Bobbed. G. logged, logged. V, improved, improved. Now the TH is kind of tricky. The TH can actually be voiced and unvoiced. So of course, since we're talking about it being voiced, like in the word that, we have the word seethed, seethed. Z, buzzed, buzzed. Now, ZH produces a zh sound. Now, the zh sound can be produced by certain letters. In this case, the G can produce a zh sound, such as in the word massage. But when we add an ed ending, it's going to be d. So we'll say massaged, massaged. Now the next three letters are voiced, of course, but they're nasal. They're all nasal. And of course, so they'll all end with the D. Because they're voiced, they'll end with a D ending as far as the ED is concerned. For example, M, harmed, harmed. Now N, gained, gained. All right, now the NG, well, the NG, of course, produces that sound, like in sing, sing. Well, it's voiced. So with the ED ending, it's going to also produce that D sound. Now, we can't say singed, singed, because that's not correct, but we can say pinged, pinged. Now, the L and the R are voiced approximate consonants, all right? So since they're voiced, ED is pronounced as a D as well. So L, peeled, peeled. And R, jeered, jeered. Okay, so got that? Great. All right, so we're going to move on to the next column. It's the unvoiced consonants. Now, once again, unvoiced, without the vibration in the vocal cords, the ED endings are going to end with the T sound. So we'll start with P. Hopped, hopped. K. Kicked, kicked. F. Surfed, surfed. Now, this is the TH, but unvoiced, like you would say with the word this. Unearthed, unearthed. Now, S. Hissed, hissed. And now the SH sound, the sh sound. Dashed, dashed. And the CH sound, ch. Preached, preached. All right, got that? Great. Okay, Rafa. So going down, the question might be, how do you produce the ED ending, how do you pronounce the ED ending when the words end in T or D? Well, when it comes to words that end in T or D, the ED ending is pronounced as id. You basically throw in a short I sound. Id. For example, need. Needed. Needed. Now with T, lift, lifted, lifted. Got it? Great. All right, Rafa, still hanging in with me? Great. All right, next step. So we went through a number of consonant sounds, but you may have noticed that we left out a few. We left out the J, the Q, the W, the Y, the X. 5 letters that are considered consonants as well. How do we handle them when we add ed endings to them? Well, let's take 2 of them, which are kind of similar in situation. The J and the Q. Now the J is a voiced consonant, but the interesting thing about J, as far as ending words, is that it rarely appears at the end of words. And when it does, they're nouns, so we'll never add an ed ending. And frankly, I don't think you'll ever see them at the end of verbs. So being that they aren't at the end of verbs, we don't have to worry about an ed ending. Therefore, we don't have to worry about how to pronounce them because it will never happen. Now, Q is an interesting letter because it is most of the time comprised of 2 sounds, the K and the W, such as queen or quiet, qu. At times, it can also produce kind of a K sound. But like the letter J, Q rarely appears at the end of words. So again, we don't have to worry about adding an ed ending, and therefore we don't have to worry about pronouncing it. So with J and Q, don't worry about them. You'll never add an ed ending to it. Now, what about W and Y? W and Y are considered consonants, but they have a vowel-like characteristic to it. And at the end of words, they are usually paired up with other vowels to form what we call diphthongs. Diphthongs are combinations of vowels that produce other vowel sounds. Now, what did we learn about vowel sounds? All of them. Well, they're all voiced. So when we add them to words that, when we add the ed endings to words that end with vowel sounds, like allow or toy, the ed endings are pronounced with the what? That's right, Rafa, the D sound. So words like allowed, allow, and toy become allowed, toyed. Once again, all vowel sounds, voiced. Ed ending becomes a D sound. And that is true usually with W and Y. I don't think you'll ever really encounter too many vowel verbs that end with W and Y that aren't pronounced like vowels. So basically keep that in mind. W and Y, vowel sounds at the end of words, the D sound for ed. Now the last one, Rafa, the X sound. Now like Q, X is mostly pronounced with 2 sounds. And in many cases, it's pronounced as x, such as exact. Am I saying that? Is that the right word? Exact. There we go. Exact. Depending on the person, of course, how that might be pronounced. And then also it can produce a GS sound. A gz, like exam. And then sometimes the X sound just is pronounced or said as an X, like an X-ray. All right, enough with that there. Since X is pronounced either as x or gs, they all end with, if the X is at the end of a word, therefore the word is really ending with an unvoiced S sound. So what did we learn about unvoiced S? How is it pronounced? Well, it's always pronounced as a T. So if a word ends at X, the ed ending is going to be pronounced as a T, such as taxed and axed. Got it? Okay, good. Now you probably noticed number 5 about practice. All right, so this is where you have a little bit of extra here. First of all, Rafa, I want to talk to you about pronunciation, how it should work. A lot of times we tend to learn pronunciation just by what we hear. A lot of times we're able to quickly master sounds and pronounce. And then, of course, we go through this whole process of trying to pronounce a sound that's very hard for us. And we repeat it until at some point we finally get it and we say it right. We're trying to educate our mouth to learn something different that it isn't familiar with. The thing about that, I feel a lot of times people make a mistake when they're at that point where they're trying to pronounce sounds that are difficult for them to pronounce, is they don't take time to really train their mouth to do it. Usually they're being told by someone how to pronounce something. The person just repeats and repeats and repeats. the person, a lot of times when they do that, they don't really understand what they're doing. They're just mimicking a sound and hoping that you understand how to do it. They don't really show people how to produce the sound with their lips, their tongue, with their jaw. And so, therefore, when it comes to sounds that you might have difficulty pronouncing, that's how you're learning. It's just trying to repeat it as much as you can and get it right. The thing about it is what you want to do, Rafa, with any pronunciation problem you have, is you have to give yourself time to actually work out the sound and educate yourself about how the sound is actually produced. That is how you use your mouth, how you use your tongue, how you use your jaw, how you use your breath. How do all of those come into play when you're trying to work on a particular sound? So what I want you to do, Rafa, when it comes to these ED endings, I think you're familiar with most of them. I think you've got a lot of them down, and I don't think you have a problem so much with the majority of them. But when you run into these other instances where you can't seem to produce the right sound, that's when you really need to work on training your mouth. You need to start associating sounds with ED endings a little bit more so that you know how to produce the ED sound. I really hope I'm making sense here, Rafa. I hope I'm speaking slow enough. If you have questions, please contact me. So what I want you to do with the voiced consonants and the unvoiced consonants, with the T and D, and also maybe with the X, is I want you to take time to actually pronounce them out, but I want you to do it slowly. I want you to dwell on the sound. I want you to let your mind memorize which sounds produce the D, the T, and the ID sound. You need to build up muscle memory in your mouth and dwell on the sound. If you notice when I pronounced the consonant words, I took a moment and dwelled on the sound a little bit. I kind of let myself think about what am I producing, what position my mouth is in. Give yourself a moment to just think about what your mouth is doing and how it's doing it. For example, think about the first word that we went over, bobbed. I said bobbed, bobbed, bobbed. I gave myself to produce that B sound and follow it with the D sound, and I dwelled on it a little bit. Try to do that with the words that the sounds, the ED endings that you have a problem with. Give yourself a moment to think about what you're doing again. And that's really true of any pronunciation. Dwell on the sound a little bit. Give yourself a moment to let your mind memorize what it's doing. The mistake a lot of people make with pronunciations, they don't do that. They just rush through it and hoping they're getting it. I don't know if I can emphasize this enough. Give yourself time to produce the sounds and think about what you're doing. And then, for a little bit of extra, think about your own words that end with ED endings. So that is verbs that end with ED endings, and think about how you pronounce them as well. All right, did I confuse you enough? I hope I didn't do too bad. Again, Rafa, if you have any questions, text me, email me. I'm so happy to help, okay? All right, buddy. Anyway, well, you have a little video to work with as well. And this is kind of, oh my goodness, it was 18 minutes. I hope you lasted that long. Thankfully, you could stop it and play it over again. And of course, if you missed me, you could just watch the video for fun. Hey, that's great. All right, Rafa, I really hope this helps. Take care, and I will see you in a month. Bye-bye.